Hello, Physics 201. Since this is an online lecturing class lab, I decided to do a quick little walk through my Blackboard course and talk my way through my syllabus. So if you sign into Blackboard, this is exactly what you all see, and here's the announcements page. And if I have to post something here due to like snow canceling a lab or something like that, then I'll post something right here and spam you with an email. I hope not to have to do that, but the springtime, you know how the snow can be. If you go to the syllabus, it's right here. If I have to update it due to snow, I'll do so right here. Standard VCCS description. Here we're doing Physics 201, so we're going to talk about mechanics and waves. And if you take 202, then we'll talk about thermoelectricity, magnetism waves, and fun stuff like that. At the end of the day, we're working on solving problems and learning a little bit of physics and hopefully having a little bit of fun, so that's my learning objectives. My office is 216 Science and Health Professions Building, right across from the lab where you'll be doing your lab exercises at. This is my phone number. It is a landline. Please don't try to text it. Best way to get in touch with me is probably send me an email, because very often I'm over in the classroom with students, lectures, labs, and fun stuff like that. So what we're going to be doing is we're doing, again, in-class lab and online lecture. Bear in mind, I personally think the online lecture is a very difficult way to, very difficult for you and for me in some ways in order to learn something. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want, but it's not until you actually try something and get some feedback on it that you really start to pick it up. So bear in mind, I personally think online lecture is a little bit harder. Textbook is this guy right here, Money Saving Note. You can get by with the 6th edition rather than the 7th and save yourself a ton of money. When it comes to the labs, we're going to be doing labs pretty much every week. I'll talk about the schedule in just a little bit. And you don't have to buy a lab book like you do for chemistry. I'll provide all the labs, and what you have to do is just fill those guys out. When it comes to homework, there are two flavors of homework. There is some online homework through Blackboard and some pen and paper, which are kind of more traditional homeworks. The online homework through Blackboard are going to be 10 multiple choice questions per chapter, and the pen and paper are 5 to 7 or 8-ish, more traditional types of problems. The Blackboard is multiple choice. You have 2 attempts, and what it'll do is it'll take the highest of the 2 attempts, and it will tell you which ones you got wrong, so your second attempt should be better. The pen and paper, I grade. The nice thing about it is you can get partial credit, which you can't get on the Blackboard. I have a very heavy grade penalty because I don't want you to fall behind. Physics 201 goes very, very, very fast. There's 4 tests throughout the semester. They're all on Blackboard, and they're about 30-ish multiple choice questions each, and they have a time limit of 90 minutes. The reason for that is just because if I gave you unlimited time, then you could probably Google your way through like half of it, and I want you to actually kind of know the physics. You do have to know the physics. You do have to study going into these tests, because otherwise you're not going to be able to finish them in time. I do not accept late tests whatsoever. Attendants, please do show up to class. Respect your equipment, respect each other. Academic honesty. When it comes to the homeworks, make sure your work is your work. You're not just copying off of somebody. That's not really how you learn physics, and the tests will definitely show that. When it comes to the tests, you're pledging that this is you and you only and no one else. When it comes to the labs, I certainly do want you to work together. And actually, to be honest with you, the homeworks, you can work together as long as what you're turning in is your own work. When it comes to grading, there are 600 points up for grabs in this class. About 40% of them comes from the tests, about 20% from the labs, and the other 40 coming up from the homeworks. There's really no reason why you can't get all 20 of these and all 20 of these, and probably all 20 of these, because I'll gladly check any of the homeworks before you turn them into me. Actually, I don't anticipate the labs taking the full amount of time that we have, and I will gladly help you out with the pen and paper homework outside of that, or whenever you're finished with labs, or in my office hours. I will again gladly check each and every single one of those guys before you turn them in, and help you figure out where you went wrong if you did, because we are going to be working some very hard problems. Personally, I think that's actually how you learn some things. You can take this class for honors credit, and it does take a lot of time. In the face-to-face classes, I see my students for 6 hours a week, and I recommend additional 6 hours outside of that. I suggest spend an hour watching my lectures, an hour on the work problems. The work problems are key. and then reworking and reworking and reworking the problems, because the only way you get better at something is by doing it. And I don't care if I help you or someone else helps you on solving the problems. At the end of the day, you have to be able to solve your own problems. If you have a disability, then you have that form, you know what it means. I probably know what it means, but get that form to me as soon as you can and we'll make it work for you. Let's talk about the schedule, and this is a little bit different than when I do face-to-face. Week number 1, so January 7th, this homework is due. It's due at 11:59. It's due at midnight on that night, and the pen and paper homework is due at the end of class, so it's due at 1:45 of that particular day. Please have watched Chapter 1 and have at least tried the pen and paper homework beforehand. And if you need some help, you can gladly see me beforehand. I'll gladly help you after class, but it really is kind of due at the end of class. This is the lab we'll be doing on this particular day. Please don't judge the difficulty of this class by Chapter 1. Don't judge the difficulty of this class by Chapters 2 or 3. 4 and 5 are by far the hardest of this class. And here we have Chapter 2, Chapter 3. You can kind of see on February 4th there's a little bit of a breather, and the reason for that is because in my face-to-face classes we have the test and then we have the lab. You can kind of see I've piled up the 2 labs that we would normally do right here. The test is going to be open on that day. We're not doing a lab. You don't have to come, but if you want to talk about anything, the practice test, or swing by, you are welcome to do so. The test is open. It's due by February 11th at 11:59 p.m. I highly don't recommend that you're trying to do it at 11:59 p.m. on February 11th, because look at that, February 11th, we're going in on Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is one of the hard ones. Chapter 4, 5, 6, again, we have this kind of a little bit of a breather because we're going to knock out 2 labs on this particular day, and we work our way through the semester. The last thing I want to point out is the final exam. The final exam is in the final exam period, but I really just call it Test 4 because it's only chapters 10 through 12. We're going to cover so much material that I don't have a cumulative final, and I've actually never taken a cumulative final in any of my physics classes. So that's kind of the breakdown of these guys. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Now that's my syllabus. Let's go ahead and show you the rest of my course. If you click on course documents, first of all, physics resources, there's a ton of resources. I'll put a shout out to Khan Academy. I relearned a ton of physics through the Khan Academy right here. Course documents, here's the lectures and the notes, and you can kind of see Chapter 1. Here we have some solved problems. Pop this guy up, and these are problems you're going to see me solve on YouTube, just like you'd watch me solve them on the board in a traditional class. And here are some notes, and these are what I'm going to talk to, so that we don't have to frantically scribble everything down. Please do take notes, because you learn some things by taking them down. And here's going to be the lecture covering the notes, and here's going to be the work problems. I'll just click on one of these guys. They never seem to pop open in Firefox, so you're going to have to click on it right here. And you can go ahead and watch this guy. I recommend watching these things at a speed of 2x or so, and that way you can pause it and take notes without wasting, without spending too much of your time on those guys. And as I said, watching the worked problems, these guys right here are going to be key in order for you to kind of do well here. And it's not just watching me solve the problems, it's trying to do them on your own. So that's how I would actually recommend using those, is to go ahead and take a look at the solved problems, try them on your own, and then watch my solutions if need be. So Chapter 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth are all right here ready for you. Let's click on assignments, and what you can see is you can kind of see the pen and paper problems that I have right here. You click on Chapter 1, and essentially all you're doing is turning these guys into me. I do need to see your work, because you can kind of see I tell you what the answers are for right here. So I wouldn't, if I were you, write down problem 1A is 50,000 meters per second. I do actually need to see your work for the pen and paper problems, and I do give partial credit on these guys. And let's click on the online, here are my solutions. These guys will pop open after they're due. And right now we're not there yet, so nothing is quite there yet. Online homework, these are the homeworks that I had mentioned, 10 questions per chapter. You can kind of see the due date. You click on this guy, it's going to say it allows multiple attempts, it allows 2 attempts. It'll tell you what's right or wrong after the first attempt, and it'll take the higher of the 2 grades. You click on begin, and you can kind of click, 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 click. So that's the online homework. Let's go back to the tests and the sample tests. So let's click on this one. Here I have a sample test. You can submit this thing as many times as you want. There's the due date. I don't look at it. I don't see how many times you've attempted it. It counts towards nothing, but it gives you some practice. And if you click on this guy right here, it's going to say, okay, well, this one's going to allow multiple attempts. The real test will not. You've got a time limit of 90 minutes, and it kind of gives you the real test environment. So you click on this guy, and pretty much I make the real test side by side with this one. So if you see a question on sig figs, you'll see a question on sig figs on the real test. And again, the real test is right there. Those tests will populate as the class kind of progresses. Anyway, I think that's everything I wanted to say, so I look forward to seeing you in class, and you have a good day.